litter box. So you're going to want to make sure to start with the side that has the deep lines on top. You can definitely see that there's this side that doesn't have the lines on there. And what you do is fold these two sides up, bend these two in, and then they kind of just go right in there. You fold this over, and then these two little flaps go into that little hole in there. Do the exact same thing on this side, and that's your litter box right there. Just to show you, if you try to do it on the side where there's not those deep lines, you can still fold it the same way. The only difference is when you try to fold this over, it doesn't fold over very neatly. You can see that there's all these like jagged areas here. It doesn't fold over nicely, and also this side just like won't go into those little areas there. It just pops right open just like that. So if you try to put litter in there, it's just gonna be a big mess when it pops open. In this small cubby, we would have a neonate kitten. So that'd be a kitten that's about 0 to 2 weeks old. And we have a heating pad with a pillowcase as a cover. We have a thin bed and a thin blanket. We want to make sure that we're using a thin blanket because if it's too thick, the kitten won't get the warmth from the heating pad. And this is all pushed back, and we leave about a 3-inch area in the front. So if the kitten gets overheated in the back, he can always crawl forward and he can lay in this cool area here. Also, if we have a singleton, we make sure to put in a stuffed animal of about a similar size because if it's too large, it can actually hurt the kitten. And down here we have another setup. So I also want to point out that we can have 2 separate litters in one condo area. So this would be the neonate, and it's separated by this sliding door right here, and we make sure that we put the covered area here. And so that porthole is covered, so this is one litter, and then we can have a second litter down here. So this would be the same setup in the bedding unit. We have the heating cover with the pillowcase, the bed, the receiving blanket. The difference is that now it's going to be opened up, so the sliding cover, we just flip it the other way so that the porthole is open down here. So now this kitten has access to the bedding unit and the condo. We add in a hump cover, so that's just going to be a thin blanket that we just lay across between the bedding unit and the condo. On this side, we'd have some sort of bed, maybe a thicker blanket, just so that the kitten has an area to crawl over onto the other side and he has something to lay on over here. These younger kittens that have just been let out into their condo aren't using the litter box yet, so we're going to put a pee pad on the bottom, but we are going to introduce that litter box. We use smaller ones, and we open up the side and then we add a little bit of litter just so that they start becoming familiar with the litter box. We also give them a very small double diner, put just a little bit of water, sprinkle dry food, and that's also just to familiarize them with their environment in the condo. Over on this side, this would be for a little older kitten. This kitten would be using the litter box, so we put a larger litter box, and we also put a rug, and we put larger bowls with food and water. And the litter box always goes underneath the shelf for consistency, so that the kitten always knows where the litter box is going to be no matter who's setting up that condo. We're going to have the same setup in here in the bedding unit. We have the heating pad with the cover, and we have a blanket right here. As the kitten gets a little bit older, and we see that they're becoming more mobile, more steady, we can introduce a ramp so that they have access to the upper shelf. And on this ramp, we put a rug, and this helps them grip onto the ramp and they can crawl up. As we see them using the ramp and the shelf, we can start moving their food up to the top once we feel comfortable that they can move up and down the ramp safely. Sometimes we get a kitten that will climb up the ramp, get stuck on the shelf, and they'll just scream and scream because they don't know how to get back down. So once we see that everybody in that litter is going up and down, we can put the food up here, and we can leave more space open for them to run around. As they are getting older, we also introduce more toys. We have these hanging toys. They get crinkle balls, mice, balls, just different types of toys for enrichment. It's going to be a little different for the queens and kits. The queens are going to have the full run of either the entire top row or the entire bottom row. And we just leave this sliding door open so that they have access to both sides. We're not going to put a heating pad in there because they have the mama for warmth, so we don't want to overheat them with the heating pad. We also close off these top cubbies so that the mama doesn't try to take her babies up to the shelf for the top cubby, because it would be a long fall down for any of those small kittens from that top shelf. We put a blanket in there, a nice thick blanket on each of the bottom cubbies. We also put a bed, a nice warm bed for the mama so she has somewhere to go. We keep her food up on top. Once the kittens start getting a little older, we can start moving the food down so that they also become familiar with the dry food and the water. We always want to make sure that the bed and the food are on the opposite side of the condo from the litter box. And the litter box is going to be a little bit different for the queens and kits. We're going to keep their litter box on the other side of the shelf, not directly underneath the shelf, because mama's a little bigger, so it's harder for her to go under the shelf, crouch down, and use a litter box. But just like the other kittens, we can start introducing a smaller litter box for the kittens and putting that one underneath the shelf as well.